on flotation. And I think it's best for us to start with a little video so that we will have an idea of what flotation looks like in the industry. What does the process do? This is copper concentration through flotation, and what you can see is the froth or the overflow of the flotation process. And you can see some scrapers helping the froth to overflow. So what you can see are bubbles, bubble-like figures with a metallic feel or metallic color. That's because we are concentrating a metal, which is in this case copper. This one, if I'm not mistaken, is also a copper concentration. However, they probably use different reagents or a different flotation process altogether. That's why it looks different. This one is nickel concentration through flotation, and you can see that the flotation unit is actually different from the first one, or the first two. And that's because we have different kinds of flotation units, which we will discuss later on. Now, this one is most widely used, or most commonly used in water treatment. This is a DAF unit, or dissolved air flotation unit. Later you will see what it looks like in the industry, in real life. There. So, it looks quite weirder compared to the first two because what we're concentrating here are not metallic substances but rather biological contaminants. That's why they're not really that pleasing to the eye. Those are the final product, cleaner water. And now let's go through a brief history because we want to know why this flotation came into existence, or why did flotation come into existence in the first place. We have to look at the mineral industry during 1850s. Alright, during 1850s, the mineral industry has been technically stagnant for more than a century, the last innovations being done probably 16th century, so it's a lot of time. However, also during that time, during 1850 to 1900, several size reduction units like mills and other uses, steam shovels, other units have been developed. But with the development of these, with these innovations came another problem. It's not really a problem, but for the mineral industry it was, because fine ores were already replacing the coarse-grained ores. Prior to these innovations, coarse-grained ores were more widely used in the mineral industry. However, with the development of size reduction equipment, fine-grained ores were replacing them. So they needed another method of concentrating these fine-grained ores because what they had during that time were gravity machines, which for the fine-grained ores were not effective or efficient in concentrating because these kinds of ores remain suspended in the water or in the fluid. So that's where flotation came into the picture. So the first person who actually demonstrated flotation was William Keynes, and he did a very simple flotation process and he called it bulk oil flotation. Several years later, Frank Elmore actually developed a working unit and he erected it at the Glacier mine, and he got a patent for the process. In his process, he entrained more air into the flotation unit, used more water, which was very essential to the success of his flotation process. Now, what does it look like? Here's a first, what is flotation? According to Brown, flotation includes any operation in which one solid is separated from another by floating one at or on the surface of the fluid. So what does it look like? Here is a simple animation that we made. So what you can see are two kinds of particles suspended in water. So we have blue particles and red particles. The blue particles represent the hydrophilic particles, they love water. And the red particles would represent the hydrophobic, they don't like water, particles. Now, you can also see that we are actually entraining air from the top of the motor, of the flotation unit, from the top of the flotation unit. We're entraining air and this actually bubbles up. You're entraining air and it bubbles up. Now, the tendency, I want you to understand that part. Alright, so the blue particles, what would be their tendency? Of course, their tendency being hydrophobic would go they would go with water, and they will be completely surrounded by the water molecules. And so, they will sink. They will go with water and they will sink. However, the red particles, being hydrophobic in nature, would rather go with the air, correct? They will go with the air. And the effect of this on the mass is that the bulk density of your mass will become less than the density of water. And so it floats, forming a cross on the surface which continuously overflows. That's what flotation basically is. But it's a very simple animation. And now here's Christian Zamor to explain on the classifications and the basic process overview of flotation.
Good afternoon. So basically what's next is the classifications of flotation. So flotation is classified into several types depending on the type of material to be separated. So the first is our flotation, which was used in the mining industry. As was explained earlier, flotation was born due to the necessity of needing to separate the fine ores from the coarse ores. So it was primarily used in the mining industry. And as you can see, the desired material is termed the concentrate, while the undesired is called the tailings. So next are the micro and macro flotation. So basically these are similar in the sense that they separate materials, but the size of the materials to be separated differ. So in microflotation, we separate microscopic particles, usually colloids. While in macroflotation, we separate minerals from the ores, and it also encompasses ore flotation. Next is precipitate flotation. So in precipitate flotation, the desired species is first precipitated prior to separation by flotation. Next, we have ion flotation and molecular flotation. So these two are somewhat similar to precipitate flotation in the sense that the desired particles to be removed are first attached to undergo subsequent separation. So in ion flotation, we remove surface inactive molecules, ions using collectors, and then we separate them by flotation. For molecular flotation, it is similar to ion flotation, but in this case, we remove the surface inactive molecules. So lastly, we have the absorbing colloid flotation. So here, the desired material is absorbed first on a colloidal particle prior to separation by flotation. So next, these are the fundamental processes of flotation. So, as explained earlier, flotation is a process in which the separation is achieved by floating one of the materials on or at the surface of the liquid. So, it is done when there are sufficient differences in the wettability of the solids to be separated. It is done by introducing air into a vessel, as shown earlier in the animation, where the air was entrained from the top, coming from the motor, and it enters and joins the slurry in order for separation to occur. So, as explained earlier again, it was primarily used in the mining industry to separate the different minerals from the ores. So next, as shown in the short animation earlier, the hydrophilic particles, in this case the red ones, the blue ones, they remain suspended within the liquid layer and sink, while the blue particles are the hydrophobic particles, which attach to air bubbles and they rise to the surface of the liquid and they form the froth layer. So next, this is a basic process schematic for flotation according to Perry, 7th edition. So here. So we have Perry stated two general steps, so conditioning and separation. So first, let us consider conditioning. So in conditioning, the reagents are added to prepare the slurry for separation. So it is done to ensure that the proper physical and chemical characteristics are achieved prior to separation. So next stage, it is separation. So in separation, air along with the other reagents are added and the formation of the froth layer occurs. So that was Perry's definition of a basic flotation process. Next, we have the process schematic from Brown here. So as you can see, it is a bit more complex, and it is generally for ore flotation. So, the first part. So, similar to those stated by Perry, flotation process involves the conditioning of the feed prior to separation. So, in this case, the feed is fed to a classifier and then is introduced into a conditioning unit where the necessary physical and chemical characteristics are achieved prior to separation in the rougher. Next, after the feed has been conditioned for separation, it is then introduced into the rougher where the concentrate, the products are the concentrate in the tailings. So the concentrate is sent to a cleaner where the desired characteristics of the final product are achieved. While the tailings are then sent to a scavenger, which recovers some of the desired materials found in tailings. So next, the tailings, upon leaving the scavenger, are termed the final tailings, while the desired materials that are recovered in the scavenger are fed back to the rougher for subsequent flotation. So the number of separations using flotation is dependent on the number of valuable materials in the feed. So next is Mr. Leo Toyoda for the equipment generally used in the flotation process.